The moment the lights dimmed and the whispers began, the room was cold. Not because of the temperature, but because of the way people looked at her. Ana de Armas stood near the corner of the massive stage, her hands lightly shaking, not from fear, but from the weight of judgment pressing down on her. Tonight was supposed to be her chance, the moment she had worked for, sacrificed for, and dreamed of for years. But now, the whispers were growing louder, and each one carried the same message: she's not ready. She doesn't belong here. Should have gone to someone else. Ana's eyes scanned the audience. Producers, agents, critics, and fellow actors, all dressed in black, all staring through her. She tried to breathe, but her chest felt tight, like someone had tied a string around her ribs and was slowly pulling. Then came the words she feared most. A short man with a clipboard and a headset walked over to her. He didn't look her in the eyes. "We're making a change," he said. "We're asking you to step aside." She blinked. "What?" He finally looked at her, but it wasn't kindness in his eyes. It was discomfort, maybe even shame. "We're bringing in someone else to introduce the award. The network thinks it's better for ratings." Ana stood frozen. For a second, the lights above seemed to blur. Not because they dimmed, but because her eyes were filling up with tears she refused to let fall. This wasn't just about being pushed out of a spotlight. It was about the message they were sending, about her worth, about how easily she could be replaced. She nodded, said nothing, and took a step back. Just one. That's all it took to erase her from the frame, and that's when she heard it. Footsteps, slow, steady, heavy with intent. Keanu Reeves. He wasn't supposed to be there yet. His name was scheduled much later in the show, but there he was, walking toward the stage in silence. No one dared stop him. No one even breathed. Ana turned, confused as he approached her. He didn't speak at first, just looked at her, deep, quiet gaze that cut through every doubt, every insult, every whisper. Then he reached out, gently took her hand and said, "You're not stepping aside. Not tonight." The man with the clipboard rushed forward, panicked. Keanu held up a hand. "Don't." His voice wasn't loud, but it carried across the entire theater. The crowd was dead silent. "Ana introduces the award," he said. "And if she doesn't, then I'm not going on stage either." Gasps, whispers changed direction now. A few turned into applause. But that wasn't the point. What mattered was the way Ana looked up at him, as if for the first time, someone saw her, really saw her. Not as a star, not as a risk, but as a person who deserved to stand in the light. And for the first time that evening, she smiled. Not because she was saved, but because someone stood beside her when it mattered most. They walked on stage together. Tss. The screen behind them lit up, not with titles, not with sponsors, but with a quiet kind of power that didn't need to shout. And somewhere in the crowd, someone whispered, "That's what real respect looks like." But what no one knew yet, what even Ana didn't realize, was that this moment was only the beginning, because what came next would change more than one career. It would change lives. The quiet after the storm, when Ana stepped off that stage with Keanu beside her, her heart was pounding like a drum against her chest. The applause still echoed behind them, but it felt far away, like it belonged to another world. She didn't speak. Not yet. The weight of what just happened hadn't settled in. It was too big, too real, and too unexpected. Keanu squeezed her hand once before letting it go. He didn't say much, just gave her a small, quiet smile that meant more than 1,000 words. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded once, his voice soft. "You earned that." They just forgot it for a second. The rest of the night passed. In flashes, porters, flashing cameras, awkward glances from those who tried to push her out. They now approached her with rehearsed politeness, trying to pretend they had never doubted her. She smiled, said the right things, but inside, something had shifted, not just in how they saw her, in how she saw herself. But with that shift came a storm she didn't see coming. The next morning, her name was everywhere. Keanu Reeves defends Ana de Armas in powerful moment live on stage. Hollywood tried to silence her. He stood up. Instead, was it scripted? Or something deeper? Blogs speculated. Headlines twisted the story into something messy. Some praised her. Others questioned her talent all over again, saying she only made it through the night because of Keanu. She threw her phone across the bed and rubbed. Temples, her manager called. Don't read the comments, Ana. They'll only mess with your head too late. Listen, this is good press. It's controversial, sure, but it'll open doors. Just lay low for a few days. Let it ride out. She ended the call and stared out her window. Gray clouds hung low. Not about Keanu. Not about Keanu. Not even about the people who turned their backs on her. It was deeper. Didn't know how to answer yet. Why was she so easy to discard in the first place? A knock on the door pulled her from her thoughts. She opened it, and there he was, Keanu holding 2 coffees and a quiet look in his eyes. I thought you might need this, he said. She stepped aside, letting him in. The room was still, the air thick with everything unsaid. You didn't have to come, she said. I know. But I figured, if the world's going to throw noise at you, someone should bring some silence too. She sat down across from him. Took the coffee, wrapped her fingers around it like it was the only warm thing in the room. They're saying I didn't earn that moment, that it only mattered because you were there. He nodded slowly. Let them say it. You and I both know. It's not true. Ana looked up at him, her voice barely above a whisper. Do you ever get tired of proving people wrong? Keanu leaned back, the edge of a smile tugging at his lips. All the time. But the thing is, I don't prove them wrong for them. I do it for the kid I used to be. It's the one who thought he'd never belong. Ana looked down. His words hit something, raw inside her. You know, he continued, when I was younger, I got told to step aside more times than I can count. Didn't look the part. Didn't sound the part. I was too quiet. It's too different. They didn't want quiet. They wanted loud. Bold, safe, and now. Now they clap for the quiet. But it only happened because I didn't walk away. Ana stared at him. There was a stillness to him that made you listen closer. Like every word came from something lived, not learned. Keanu took a sip of his coffee and looked out the window. There's a meeting tomorrow, he said. About a project I think you should be a part of. She raised an eyebrow. What kind of project? One that needs someone brave. Someone who's been to the edge and didn't let the fall define her. She didn't respond right away. Storm in her chest calmed a little. If I say yes, she said, I don't want to be a shadow in your spotlight. Keanu turned. To her, and his voice was steady. You wouldn't be. You'd be the one lighting the way. That night, Ana didn't sleep much, not because she was worried, but because, for the first time in a long time, she felt something returning. Not fame, not approval, but belief. And somewhere deep inside, she knew the storm wasn't over, but she wasn't afraid of it anymore. She walked into the room they said she didn't belong in. Next morning came with a quiet tension. The city outside buzzed with noise and motion, but Ana sat still in the back of a black car, her hands resting on her knees. She stared at the glass tower rising ahead of them. The meeting was inside that building, a place she'd heard of before, but had never been invited to. The project Keanu mentioned wasn't just another film. It was the film. The kind of story that only came once in a decade. Big budget. Global. Release. Directors known for turning people into legends. And here she was, pulling up to the curb. With a voice in her head still whispering she didn't deserve it. The driver opened the door. She stepped out, her heels clicking against the pavement like they didn't quite belong to her. Cameras weren't flashing, and no one was shouting her name. But somehow, that felt better. More honest, Keanu was already waiting near the entrance. Black suit, .com expression. He nodded as she approached. You ready? He asked. No, she said truthfully. But I'm here. That's enough. They walked in together. Glass walls stretched high around them, and the echo of their footsteps filled the lobby. They reached the top floor, where a long table waited, surrounded by people in suits. Powerful people, Producers, financiers, creative directors, the kind who didn't just make films, but shaped careers. A woman with sharp eyes and a tighter smile greeted them. Keanu, Ana. She nodded. Thanks for coming. Ana smiled back politely, but her stomach turned. She could feel the stares. Some curious, some cautious, one or two cold. Let's get started, the woman said. They spoke about the film, a story of survival, grief, and hope. The lead character was powerful, complicated, raw. They needed someone who could show strength without losing softness. Someone who could hold silence and still break hearts. Ana listened, quietly. The longer they spoke, the more her heartbeat slowed. Not because she was afraid, but because something inside her was clicking into place.
This role, it wasn't
just a job. It was a mirror. And then came the moment that made the room shift. A man across the table leaned forward, hands folded. Ana, with respect, he said slowly, there are some concerns. This role requires a presence, someone who can hold attention without support. The last project showed you needed help to carry a moment. Keanu sat up straighter, but before he could say a word, Ana leaned in. I understand your concern, she said, her voice calm. But with respect, I think what that moment showed was strength, not weakness. It takes courage to stand when others want you gone. And it takes even more to come back the next day and sit in this room. The man blinked. The woman across, from her, tilted her head slightly. Not judging, observing, Ana continued. I'm not here because I'm perfect. I'm here because I know what it feels like to be pushed out and still come back better. Keanu looked at her, his expression unreadable. Then slowly a smile began to form. The woman at the head of the table finally spoke again. We weren't sure before, but now we are. The role is yours. Ana didn't react right away. She just let the words land. The storm inside her finally quieted. When they left the room, the sky outside had cleared. Sunlight streamed down through the clouds. They stepped out into it, side by side. Keanu glanced at her. How do you feel? She looked up at the sky, then down at her hands. I finally showed them who I really am. He nodded. You did more than that. You reminded them who they forgot you were. But even as those words warmed her heart, something unexpected came next. A call from someone she hadn't spoken to in a long time. Her brother. He never reached out unless something was wrong. Ana's fingers trembled slightly as she answered. Ana. His voice was low, serious. You need to come home, Mama. She's not well. The world shifted again, not with doubt this time, but with something heavier. Grief. Because even as her career was rising again, life had a way of testing what really mattered. Keanu saw the change in her eyes immediately. What is it? He asked gently. Ana slowly lowered the phone. I have to go, she said. My mother needs me. He didn't hesitate. Then we go. You don't have to. We go, he repeated, firm but kind. Family comes first, always. Just like that, the next chapter of her journey began. Not on a set, not on a stage, but in the quiet return to where everything started. Where the lights couldn't reach, the truth waited. The road home was long, quiet, and wrapped in memories. Ana sat by the window of the small plane, staring out at the clouds as they drifted by like thoughts she hadn't touched in years. Her hands were folded in her lap, but they weren't still. They moved every few minutes, fidgeting, tightening, loosening, as if her body couldn't decide what emotion to hold. Keanu sat beside her, reading nothing, saying nothing, just present. Every once in a while he glanced at her, waiting for her to speak, but he didn't push. Understood silence better than most people. He knew it wasn't empty. It was full of everything too heavy to say. She used to sing in the kitchen. Ana finally whispered. Keanu turned to her gently. My mama, every morning. Didn't matter if there was money or not. It didn't matter if she was tired. She sang. Like the world wasn't falling apart. Like her voice could hold everything together. Keanu gave her a soft look. She sounds like someone strong. Ana nodded. She is. But now, I don't know how much strength she has left. The plane touched down in Havana as the sun dipped low behind the hills, casting long shadows across the streets. They were greeted by her brother Javier, who looked older than the last time she saw him. Life had aged him, not his face, but his spirit. They embraced tightly. No words at first, just breath against shoulders and the unspoken weight of love and fear. "She's in the room," Javier said, leading them through the small family home. "She's weak. Some days are better than others. Today, not so good." Ana paused outside the door. Her hand hovered near the knob, but she didn't open it. Keanu stood close, his voice low. "You don't have to be ready. Just be there." She nodded, pushed the door open. The room was dim, quiet, except for the soft hum of a fan and the distant sounds of children playing outside. Her mother lay on the bed, eyes half open, skin pale but peaceful. When she saw Ana, a smile formed, weak but real. "Mi Estrella," she whispered. "You came." Ana dropped to her knees by the bed. Her voice cracked as she said, "Of course I came. I should have come sooner." Mother's hand reached up, shaking, and touched Ana's face. "No, you were shining. I watched you. I told everyone that's my daughter. It's her." Tears spilled from Ana's eyes. Not loud tears. Quiet ones that fell freely, like rain returning to earth. They stayed in that room for hours. Ana held her hand, told her stories, listened to the old woman's soft laughter. Sometimes her mother drifted off mid-sentence, then woke again with another memory. Keanu waited outside the room for most of the evening, speaking with Javier, helping where he could, asking nothing in return. When night came, Ana stepped out, exhausted. Her face was pale, her body tired, but her eyes were calm. She had cried what she needed to cry, and now there was only time. "Thank you," she said to Keanu. He looked at her with kindness. "For what?" "For coming. For not letting me be alone with this. You shouldn't have to be alone. Not now. Not ever." They walked outside to the porch, where the night was thick with stars and the smell of sugarcane and earth. Ana sat down, wrapping her arms around herself. "You know what hurts most?" "What?" "I've worked so hard to prove myself to the world, and now standing here, none of it matters like I thought it would." Keanu sat beside her. "It matters, not in the way they told you it would." She looked at him. "The world will tell you that fame is the prize. Applause, attention. Headlines," he said softly. "But those things fade. What lasts is the way you show up for the people who love you. The way you hold their hand when they're fading. The way you sing in the kitchen, even when everything's falling apart." Ana closed her eyes. Us. Those words. They healed something she didn't know was broken. The next morning, as the sun rose over the hills, Keanu made breakfast with Javier, while Ana sat by her mother's side again. Laughter returned in small doses. Warmth returned in gentle moments. And that afternoon, as Ana read aloud one of her mother's favorite poems, her voice shaking but clear, her mother squeezed her hand one last time. Then she was gone. It was peaceful, still, and the world paused. Just for a moment, to honor a life that had once held everything together. Ana didn't collapse. She didn't scream. She simply sat, tears sliding down her cheeks, and whispered, "Thank you, Mama." And outside, Keanu waited, silent, steady, present, knowing some moments needed. No words at all, but what he didn't know yet was that a message was waiting for him, a message that would soon shake everything. The letter that wasn't meant to be read at the funeral was small, humble, and filled with faces that had known struggle and joy in equal measure. Friends from the neighborhood brought flowers wrapped in cloth, not plastic. Women who once danced in kitchens with Ana's mother held candles and sang softly in the old language, their voices trembling with grief and memory. Ana stood in silence beside the grave, her black dress fluttering in the breeze. She didn't wear sunglasses. She didn't hide her tears. She let them fall because some sorrows were meant to be witnessed, not buried. Keanu stood a step behind her, not as an actor, not as a friend people recognized from movies, but as a man who understood loss. He had buried people too, people he loved. And like Ana, he knew that words didn't matter right now. Only presence, only breath, only stillness. After the final prayer was whispered, and the last handful of earth was placed, they walked back to the house in silence. The air was heavy with something sacred. Inside, Javier brought out a small wooden box from their mother's room and placed it in Ana's hands. "She asked me to give you this," he said, "but only after." Ana opened it slowly, hands trembling. Inside was a faded envelope with her name written in careful, familiar handwriting. She opened it, and a single letter rested inside. She began to read, "Mi Estrella. If you're reading this, it means I've gone where music still lives and light never fades. Don't cry for me. My song is finished, and it was beautiful because you were in it. I want to tell you something I never said loud enough. I'm proud of you. Not for the movies, not for the cameras, but for the way you carry your heart through a world that tries to harden it. When they asked you to step aside, I cried that night. Not because they doubted you, but because you still walked forward anyway. I raised a girl who became a woman, who became a fire. Don't let this moment break you. Let it shape you. And when you feel lost, find the people who stay beside you. In the quiet, they're your real home. Love always, Mama Ana." Pressed the letter to her chest, her body shaking with silent sobs. Javier quietly stepped out, giving her space. Keanu didn't say anything. He simply sat beside her and gently placed a hand over hers. "She saw you," he whispered. "Truly saw you." Ana nodded. "And I saw her too. Every sacrifice, every hard day. All of it. I carry it now." For the next few days, they helped Javier with the house. He cleaned, fixed things, sorted old belongings. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't loud. But it was real. Ana cooked meals from old recipes written. In the margins of cookbooks, Keanu swept the front steps and repaired a broken light above the door. They lived slowly, like time had stretched. But just as the peace settled, Keanu's phone buzzed. He ignored it once, then twice. On the third time, Ana looked at him. "You should answer," he nodded, stepping outside. The call was from his agent. "Keanu, something's come up. You might want to sit down." "I'm listening." "You've been nominated for an award. Not just any award. Lifetime achievement. It's all over the news. The Academy wants you to speak. They're calling it a moment the industry needs. But there's more." Keanu raised an eyebrow. "Go on. You're planning to make a statement about what happened with Ana. They want you both on stage, not just as actors, but as voices for change." Keanu was quiet for a long time. When he stepped back inside, Ana looked up. "Was it important?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "They want us back in Los Angeles. On the biggest stage. Together." Ana blinked. "Why?" "Because now they're listening." She looked at the letter again in her lap, mother's words echoing in her mind. "Find the people who stay beside you in the quiet. They are your real home." She looked at Keanu, not with fear, not with doubt, but with something stronger. "Then let's go," she said. "But this time, we speak our truth." And so began their journey back, not just to a stage, but to a moment that would hold more power than either of them could yet imagine. What they didn't know was that someone powerful behind the scenes still wanted to silence them, and that silence was ready to strike. The stage, the silence, and the truth that broke the roomed plane touched down in Los Angeles under a golden sky. The city sparkled in the distance like a dream waiting to be tested. It had only been a few weeks since Ana had stood on that stage, with Keanu for the first time humiliated, dismissed, and almost erased. Now she was returning not to defend herself, but to speak with purpose. The industry was watching. Everyone knew what had happened that night, how Ana had been asked to step aside, how Keanu had refused to let her be pushed away. Millions had seen it, debated it, argued about it. And now, the two of them were invited back, together. But what they didn't know was this. Not everyone welcomed their return behind the curtain. In meeting rooms filled with power and fear, some executives still believed that what happened was dangerous. Not because it broke rules, but because it changed them. If we let this moment define the industry, One of them had said, "We lose control." But it was too late. The audience was already listening. The world was already changing. Ana, she was no longer silent. The award night arrived like a tidal wave of lights, dresses, microphones, and pressure. The building pulsed with energy. Outside, reporters called out names. Inside, stars walked the velvet carpet. But as Keanu and Ana stepped through the entrance, there was something different about them. They weren't trying to be seen. They already were. They found. Keanu nodded to a few familiar faces. Ana looked around quietly, her fingers brushing the folded letter from her mother, hidden in the small bag she carried. On the stage, the ceremony unfolded with rehearsed joy. Actors gave speeches, cameras zoomed in and out, and laughter echoed through the halls. But then came the moment. Please welcome to the stage Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas. A hush fell over the room. They walked up together, hand in hand, just like they had that first night. The silence wasn't cold this time. It was respectful, curious. Waiting, Keanu stepped forward first. "This is not the speech I wrote," he said with a faint smile. "I had something prepared, something polished. But tonight isn't about polish, it's about truth." He paused. "A few weeks ago, I watched someone brave get asked to step aside, and I watched her stay standing. Not because someone told her to, but because her heart wouldn't let her walk away. That moment changed me, and it reminded me of something I forgot, that this stage doesn't belong to the loudest voice. It belongs to the voice that refuses to be quiet." He turned to Ana, and tonight that voice belongs to her. Ana took a step forward. Her heart thudded, but her hands didn't shake. "When I came to this city," she began softly, "I was told to smile, to stay quiet, to wait for my chance. And when that chance finally came, it was taken from me right in front of the world." She looked out into the crowd, not begging, not angry, just honest. What happened that night hurt, not just because of what was said, but because so many of you said nothing. The room tensed. People shifted in their seats, but one man didn't stay silent, and because of that, I didn't break. I rebuilt. She pulled out the letter from her mother and held it up. "This is from someone who believed in me when no one else did. She told me to find the people who stay beside you in the quiet. I found that person. And now, I choose to be that person for others." The room was still. Ana's voice grew stronger. "So if you've ever been told you're not enough, if you've ever been asked to step aside, let me say this to you now. You are enough, and your place is exactly where you stand." The crowd didn't erupt into applause, not right away, because some truths are too heavy to clap for. They must be felt first, but then. One person stood, and another, and then the room rose, row by row, until the entire hall was on its feet, a standing ovation, not for fame, not for performance, but for courage. Ana turned to Keanu, and he nodded with a smile that carried everything. Pride, respect, and quiet love. They stepped off the stage as the lights dimmed behind them. Later that night, after the cameras stopped flashing and the crowd had gone home, they stood on a quiet rooftop, looking out at the city lights. "You changed something tonight," Keanu said. Ana shook her head gently. "No, we did." He looked at her for a long moment. "What now?" She smiled. "Now we keep walking forward, even if the path is hard. Even if no one claps. Because the world doesn't need more stars. It needs more voices that don't give up." Keanu raised his coffee cup toward the skyline. To not giving up, Ana lifted hers. To standing beside each other, they clinked cups in silence. Beneath, the stars, two souls who refused to be silenced, now forever part of a story that no one would ever forget. And this time, no one asked her to step aside.